Welcome one and all to the LCS Challengers League, provided by Turo and our wonderful new sponsor, Subway. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by the likely candidates of Magical and Beatdown Boulevard, but we've got a wonderful, wonderful guest with us today. We've got Wildcards Keel. Some would say the most underrated jungler in our league, but I would say one of the best. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm a big fan of Subway and Turo.
Hey, you already know. All right, Magical, I gotta check in with you, man. How you doing? You ready for this?
I will say, is Keel really undervalued when he got third place for our MVP?
You know,
I feel like he's doing
Mazel
a good...
saying he should have gotten first place. So
well, maybe. Keel, just next year, just make sure that you just keep popping off like this time, and I'm sure you're gonna get it.
I'm inclined to agree.
There you go. Hey, that's all that matters. You know the goal. All right, Beatdown. Last check-in. How you doing? You ready for a nice last day before we go to live broadcast?
I'm so ready, Mazel. I'm super excited for today's matches too because we have EGC who has been turning up in the lower bracket and Fear who recently just got reverse swept, facing off for that last land spot, trying to get to the great boss that is DSG.
Yeah, I think we've had some incredible best ofs. I will say. The dark horse, I know Cubby's gonna get really mad. He's gonna start.
It's okay, he's not here.
He's not here. He can't hurt us.
Exactly.
The dark horse in the lower bracket, Evil Geniuses making the run. I think it's been incredible to watch them, but I actually do think the interest for me is to get Keel's perspective on kind of the journey so far. I know you're already out of the tournament, but how do you feel like this tournament has gone so far as a whole?
I think even from the start, it seems like every team was like somewhat close and like capable of winning. And EG clearly are like leveling up like in the last like 5 weeks, 4 weeks or so. And yeah, I'm not too surprised that they're at this point, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive the way they got here, I guess, at this point. I do want to go ahead and bring up the graphic for the bracket at this point because we have had some incredible best ofs. But we do have the play of the split coming up here.
The most important bracket.
Yeah, this is the more important bracket. Yeah,
exactly. The play of the split bracket, I think, has been my favorite addition to our broadcast.
Real.
Just because we get a lot of community feedback, we get a lot of community interaction, but we've also had some banger plays. You see Young beat out Tomio's cool play. My vote was the Tomio one, I'm just saying.
I like
Perry's
the Tomio one.
Penta with the comms had to win out. And then Young won the semifinals up there against Mir. Then now we have, of course, two of our most banger plays. And of course, they all involve Perry. So I specifically want to go ahead and focus on the Perry preventing the end of the game and the way that kind of the craziness came down. We even heard the comms from this one too. It was absolute insane. So let's go ahead and hear and see if this one will be our play of the week.
Okay, 15 seconds on Manui. They don't have Baron buff to shove in. They could probably get a Nexus turret before everyone spawns. Perry's jumping onto the wave, trying to stop it from getting in here. Team Liquid say, we're ignoring him. Tristana damage to turrets, to structures is too strong, but the minions have spawned. So members of Fear, they got Mir, they got Kim down. Perry's saving the game as Arrow can't get through the gate. Fear, hold the line.
I got some strong words for my analysts here saying that should be the one that wins here already without even going through it. So do you want to make your case why that one should be either Magical or Beatdown?
That was such a back and forth game, and TL were seconds away from ending it. So not only does Perry go for like the best prevent I've ever seen this year, he also manages to hold the wave, get a double kill, and hold the base long enough for not only Fear to stay alive in the game, but to win game one. I think that's what puts it over the top for me. That's what gave Fear the win in the end.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'd say. It's just that play, there's so much in that one play. It's a 1v5 scenario where it is do or die. He has to make that play work perfectly and not make a single mistake, and Perry did just that.
Well, we have another play from Perry, and one that we've had riding along with us this entire time. Let's go ahead and check in on the Perry Penta.
Okay, I'm watching. It's okay.
I'm going.
It's good.
Okay, we got it. We're right.
I'll call you Charmin. Think about Ivan. No, okay, just chill. Front to back here with me.
Yeah.
Yep. I got him.
Charmin 3. I'm going.
3, 2, 1. I have it. It's Penta for me.
Yeah. Okay, Penta,
guys! Please!
Let's go! Okay. Let's go!
Crazy.
I can't get over that every
love the
single
comms.
time. It's actually incredible. Now, Keel, how are comms on your side? Do you ever like getting into those crazy moments?
I mean, yeah, it's always interesting to have teammates who make the sounds and whatever else goes along with that. I don't know. I like how Perry did it with like 4,000 gold in the bank too. So I think that makes the play like gives it a little more credence. So
True.
There you
The
go.
gremlin.
Well, make sure you're voting for your play of the split. We do have our bracket continuing to run. We'll see who goes up against the young play and see who actually is going to make through. Hey, I'm just saying the Penta looks real good. Go ahead and vote in Twitch chat though specifically. I know we were foreshadowing maybe a little bit earlier, Magical, when you were talking about Keel being our third place most valuable prospect, but we do also want to go ahead and highlight our second place most valuable prospect. It has been a guy who we know so well, even last split, getting the MVP himself. He will be our runner-up this split, so let's go ahead and check in on Team Liquid Challengers Mir.
Number 2 for the most valuable prospect of the 2023 Summer Split is Team Liquid Challengers jungler Mir. Our spring MVP nearly did it again in summer with an incredible performance, secured TLC the first seed going into playoffs. Looking at the numbers, not only did Mir have the highest KDA among all junglers in summer, but he was top 3 in CS diff, gold diff, and XP diff at 15, while having the second most solo kills of all junglers. Add in this with the fact that he has played the most unique champions out of all the junglers in order to constantly change his playstyles to match what the team needs. But I saved my favorite stat for last, and that is that Mir has stolen the second most objectives. The number is 7. That is 7 stolen objectives. What separates Mir from the rest is that no matter the circumstances, be that an ever-evolving meta or having to play with a new player mid-split, Mir remains a solid foundation for TLC to constantly rely upon.
Who's the best jungler then in Challengers?
I think it's Mir.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people should know about Mir is, just how good of a leader this guy is. He makes everyone laugh, but at the same time, he can focus everyone up and make sure that they're performing really well. So I think that it's something that I cherish having on my team, and I think makes him really, really valuable.
But don't take me saying that Mir is a solid and consistent factor as a means to downplay his gameplay. Mir fills the role of the team, but oftentimes it is Mir finding the plays to set up the rest of the team. No one has patience like Mir. No one has a reaction like Mir either to immediately pounce on any opponent that missteps for even a fraction of a second. Mir is pivotal to the success of TLC in 2023.
A name consistently in the conversation now for 2 splits in a row. Mir has been incredible, Magical.
Mir really has, and I think the fact that he was able to not only win in our spring split, but then also get runner-up really does show just how good of a jungler this player is.
Exactly that, but we do have our announcement to make. We have our play of the split winner of this side of the bracket, and it will be the Perry Prevent.
Yes!
And it is an incredible play.
Let's go, Twitch
I did
chat.
vote for the Penta, but I will say this was one of the most incredible defenses. I know I had to save my side of it, all right, but Perry's pretty impressive kill. I want to get your thoughts on this jungler as a whole.
I think he's probably going to be... I think because of Perry, Fear has a decent chance today against EG, like just his playstyle. Being able to defend a lot of the topside plays that EG go for. I can see him with like Poppy and whatever other champs like Gragas, just like Maokai Sejuani too, being able to like neutralize EG and maybe like play into like Fear's own strengths that I think Flash struggled with. Yeah.
I want to see that today, see if that comes out. Maybe we get another end of the season play. But I do want to bring up the real playoff bracket, as we do want to take a journey down the road that we've had. We've had some incredible best of 5s. We also had some pretty hot and tested best of 3s throughout this split. So, Keel, first looks, what is the biggest matchup that stood out to you? Maybe if it even is a wild card matchup for you.
I think my first one would be the TLC Fear series where they just 2-0'd.
Yeah.
Started out with a Shochi Zed, just TP Ignite Zed mid, and just
Dude, that was crazy.
Just respects to Fear. Just they stick to their guns, they play to their strengths. And it almost got them like to nearly a 3-0 against DSG. They were like so close. So I think Fear, it's a lot of them like having their own playstyle, having their confidence, and just like fully embracing themselves. And then they have really good teamwork to make it all come together.
Yeah, and I feel like we're just getting to the best of the best here at the end. We've had, some insane series. The 3-1 by Evil Geniuses, but as well as the full 5 games that Fear had to play against DSG, the reverse sweep there. So we got to go to what is today, and a final spot in the finals, a final spot in Los Angeles. It is Fear versus Evil Geniuses, a beatdown. It feels like this one's been brewing for a while.
It has been, and it's pretty interesting, too, when you look at the history between these orgs this split. Fear have beaten EG pretty consistently, but I had players in both camps even before we went live. We talked about that was before our Mayo came through, and even JJ, who I talked to last night, said that this is a much better team with our Mayo, and I think I agree with how good they have looked into playoffs. The addition of Surdy is an exciting one, and Fear, they got to bounce back, man. It is going to take a strong mental to keep it going after getting reverse sweep just the other day.
Yeah, I do want to go ahead and bring up the roster of Fear. You should be scared of the Reaper. These guys have been insane. They have all been working so well together. They might have slipped in that upper bracket, but they are looking to make amends and come back with a vengeance here, Magical.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that is probably one of our youngest teams that we still have left. Actually, they are our youngest team. Only really JJ has gotten more experience than all the other members of Fear. So you have a team like that where you do get reverse swept, and so when it comes to a lot of these rookies, it's about resetting your mental and really figuring out what went wrong, how you can fix that. And I feel like someone like JJ really is going to be pivotal to kind of build up the morale back for the rest of the team.
Yeah, he's the no man, apparently. The one that says no to all the shenanigans if it needs to be said, or the calm down mode. Do you feel like that's a pretty important factor, Keel?
It's huge. I think I had to do it a lot for my team, and when I didn't do it, things fell apart. It's a very important and underrated part of a team. I'm guessing Armal does it for EG as well, at least to some degree.
A little bit of that veterancy voice, a little bit of that calming voice. I know he was, considered the general when he was on Team Liquid, so maybe it is continuing so on Evil Geniuses. But now I do want to put a specific spotlight, maybe a magical spotlight, on one man in particular. It has been a Manui that has really stepped up to the plate. So I've got the better picture of him here. I'm just saying, I'm hiding behind him.
This is so
but
good.
The better picture out of the roster photos that we have of him. So he's holding the banana phone, but the biggest importance is the way this guy has been playing. He's been adapting to the mages. He's really made it a mainstay. He's made it a ban focus towards Fear every time they hit the rift. He, yes, has a little bit of lacking within lane because of the way that they're playing, because of the mages they're playing, but it is the factor that he brings outside of lane and the way that he is able to influence a lot of the team fights for Fear that has really been their bread and butter.
Right, and I think when you look at things like the CSD at 15 being only minus 1.1 for a player that is much more about playing towards the team fights, playing towards scaling, that's not too bad for Fear to really be able to rely on, especially because Manui has been such an important factor. You kind of saw the damage that he's able to bring. I think a lot of that, the only reason the number's not higher is because they don't really use him early into the game. It's like, all right, get him some items, get him to scale, let him be the powerhouse later on into the game. Also, because he was holding a banana, I'm holding a banana duck. I'm just saying.
Perfect. That's a duck. That's not a banana.
It's a banana duck. It's both. See?
Well,
a duck nana,
duck
if
nana.
you will.
I don't know, man. I might need some expertise here, Keel. Let's talk about Manui a little bit more. I know we'll be getting into clips here, but have you noticed some of that uptick in kind of that pressure he provides with the style of play he brings?
I think it especially lets JJ and Perry play. Like a lot of these mages, you can just like wave clear safely bottom. And I think especially with the way Shoji likes to play, they kind of all are willing to roam into each other's lanes and just like make the game kind of crazy. And I think the way Manui's been playing and what he's been playing like enabled them pretty well as a team.
Yeah, I want to add too, the champ pool, like you said, Keel, has been really integral for how Fear plays the game for Shoji. Last split it was about 5v5. Now they really try to set up their mid laner and let him 1v9. It's something Shochi has specifically said. He even says he is the best mid in this league. And he's shown some stellar performances because of the champ pool that Manui has, really helping open up the draft, letting Shochi play more marksman more consistently, and playing these facilitating picks like the Seraphine and the really powerful scaling picks like the Ziggs. Interestingly enough, though, those are champs he does share with King, as we've seen so far through playoffs. So we got to see what is going to go through and whether or not Manui Manui has more in his pocket, because it does feel like he was a little bit figured out in that DSG series.
Well, you bring up King a little bit. We got to bring up the roster itself. Evil Geniuses, they have been on a tear, a lower bracket run to dream of. Keel, what is your first thought when you see this roster come up on your screen?
Well, I think given their like starting roster for the split compared to this one, it's like a whole different identity, whole different way to play. Like Surdy has just especially been looking really good, and I'm sure Armal just slots in well for like what the team really needs. And then the rest of their team's probably just, you know, gotten more used to playing with each other, just improved like in general, as well as the meta probably just suiting how they like to play. And I think it's made them all around just like way more consistent than they were at the start of the split.
Yeah, it helps to have a place to play around. I think the connection that Surdy has been able to form with Armeo, even in the short time that they've been playing together now, has actually been pretty incredible. And maybe it comes from that general aspect we were talking about, maybe some of that leadership coming through. But we actually got to talk to King and hear a little bit from him. I know, yeah, Kate and Gase got to talk to him after their series yesterday. So let's go ahead and listen in what he had to say.
I mean, I think we just need to play normally. I think the person with the most mental preparation needs to be me when I verse Manui and his champion Ocean.
Like I need to get Seraphine between the two of you. Who's gonna play? It's gonna be played in this series, right?
I mean, I don't know. Like this is like gonna be like this is like I don't know what that guy's gonna do. You know, like he's gonna pull something from the bottom of his like bag, like his bottomless bag. Like I'm just scared of like, you know, what he can do. So
sure.
I mean, I think Fear, even though I think we lost every regular season game to them, right?
I believe so, actually, yeah.
Yeah, we lost every game to them. I do think we are miles and miles ahead of them individually, every role. But we literally just lose our minds because the way they play the game is really weird. And if we just stay, like, we keep control of our emotions, we'll just wipe them.
Okay.
Gotta keep control, gotta keep calm, and you gotta keep going on. I think it's been really cool to see their growth here, Beatdown.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that he mentions mental as well. I mean, it's important when we get to these best of series. I know, Keel, you can probably attest to that as a player yourself. And even talking to Perry, he talks about how the mental was an issue for them in their best of 5 against DSG. So both teams really trying to kind of fortify that mental aspect going into today's game, because I have a feeling we're in for another long one.
I do too. I think we're going to get all 5. At least I'm hoping. I want to hear some more sweet, sweet silver scrapes.
Yes.
But we have seen an incredible journey from Evil Geniuses. And to highlight that fact, Kang has put together a wonderful graphic for us. So let's go ahead and check what his masterful hands have given us. You know, they've gone through a heck of a journey here as take it down number 1 seed, number 2 seed, knock, knock on number 4.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with EGC, Cubby's constantly said it, they really aren't a dark horse in this playoffs because they were already looking so strong at the end of the season. It was just the beginning of the season that they struggled so massively on that they still only got the 7th seed. So this is really the team that's kind of like, that seed just doesn't matter, right? You could just ignore that and be like, yeah, this team's a top team. And they really have been showing that they are that team that looks like one of the strongest that we have going into playoffs. And the other thing that I want to mention, Beat, you talked about this before the show, is that Fear, they trolled us because they should have won so that we had the 1, 2, then 3 for Disguise, then 4 for Fear.
It would have been pleasing, but you know what?
The right way.
Congrats to DSG. You know, they become the raid boss and punch the first boss. So it happens how it happens. It was a small thing.
It is what it is. I guess that's what they say, right?
Yeah.
I love the focus. I love the shot of Smoothie there knocking on Fear's door.
He just looks so pleasant. You never expect it.
I have to go ahead and bring back a classic because when he first came into the league, I dubbed him King Surdy, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring back the kingdomship here because this man has been incredible. I think the way that he has influenced Evil Geniuses, the way that they have a PowerPoint to play around has been impressive, but it's also the way this guy is molded into a better teammate, right? We've always known that has been his goal. He wants to be a teammate that people want to play with. And I think not only is he putting out the stats, not only is he getting the solo kills, but he's showing that it can be an impressive role from the top lane, especially.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I first started casting, and his name was Surdy v America, real ones remember, I used to call Surdy Mr. Top Gap himself because he was always such a good laner and always able to get some really big advantages in lane, and now he's really rounded out his gameplay. He's a great team fighter as well.
I do want to check in with you though, Keel. Your thoughts on Surdy as a whole?
Yeah, I played a bunch against Surdy ever since he first came to NA, I guess, and yeah, he's always kind of like had the extreme confidence, the like belief in himself, and I think now that he's gotten better, it's like really showing, and he's really really becoming like a problem. I think his team really trusts him. Like the Gwen game he played earlier, a lot of the Cassante like just going in. I think the meta suits him really well, and yeah, Surdy's looking pretty good so far.
I'd say so. I'd say we're actually going to get some clips of him as well, and I want to take a look, especially Magical, at the way this guy's been playing the lane, but also influencing a lot of the team fights, which I think has become a big staple of Evil Geniuses.
Well, and I think that's the big thing with the growth of Surdy and looking at how he is as a player. We already knew that he was a confident laner. Look at his time on a Team Liquid first, where he was just literally 1v9ing that whole time. It was the Surdy show there. And it was all from his lane phase. But it feels like now that he's back with Evil Geniuses, because he is a product of Evil Geniuses, back with Evil Geniuses prodigies as well, now back with this team that he kind of got his start on the big stage, he has really shown not only is he good at lane, like right here, I love this play just because he's able to dodge away from what should have certainly been an easy gank for FlyQuest. The fact that he gets out of that one, survives, and then the rest of the series is constantly this thorn in the side of FlyQuest where you can't really do much against him in these side lanes. And then he joins in these team fights, and he is absolutely monstrous in every single one of them. The last clip that we'll have show is from the last game of the series yesterday, where honestly, Beat, you said it on the cast, that this play right here, this play wins Evil Geniuses the series. Not just the game, but the series, because they are already at match point by finding this pick onto Masu, so the rest of the team can immediately fight around Baron and win.
Yeah, Keel, I gotta ask, how do you kind of approach these kinds of situations when you're dealing with such a strong strength in the top lane like that?
I think a lot of it depends on like how your team likes to play. Like when I team versus Surdy, we played Gangplank into the blind pick Jax. That was kind of our way of dealing with it. And like, you know, it was like a lot of scrims even versus EG, just a lot of topside, just brawls. Like the whole game is a lot about the top wave states, the supports roaming. I think Smoothie also just loves like, he'll even go down XP if it means he can help the map. He has no fear to go down a couple of levels, and I think EG really just embraces that way of playing.
Let's see if they can embrace that one today. I do believe we have our draft ready to go. It is a battle for Los Angeles. It is a battle to come back against Disguise. It is a lower bracket run for Evil Geniuses, and it's time now for a best of 5. And now we have Fear versus Evil Geniuses. Guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Lennon. We will see you for our halftime show or quarter time, fifth time, whatever you want to call it show. But getting into game 1 of our lower bracket finals between Cincinnati Fear and Evil Geniuses Challengers. Both of you, I do want to mention this. There is not once since the beginning of Proving Grounds been an entire finals without at least one Challenger/Academy team a part of it. This could be the first time, if Cincinnati Fear are able to take this series, that we don't have one of those affiliated teams in the final. So Beat, as we get into the draft for this one, I gotta ask, what are you gonna look for both teams?
I mean, Perry had told me, because I asked him, you know, without going into details, what is the draft gonna look like, anything spicy, and he said, we're gonna play some spicy stuff. So I'm expecting some pretty outlandish shit to come through in the series, especially with EGC banning a lot of their usual suspects. We gotta give credit as well to Fear for being the ones to pioneer Seraphine this year. In spring, they were the only team getting it banned against them, and in summer, they were still mostly being the team to play it out, even though EG have also picked up on it.
All right, Gil, what do you want to see from these two teams? Now that we have the bans here, we see that Seraphine Ziggs ban, of course, towards Fear, and then the Sejuani answer for Perry. What do you think RBO is going to play into this?
Maybe the Ivern, maybe the Lilia is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm also curious if EG wants to take Renekton or if they have a plan versus it, because I'm expecting Fear to just take it. They always take it like 1, 2, 3 even if it's up, just to make sure they can secure it for themselves. Kaisa makes a lot of sense too. Yeah,
it's a really strong one. I'm expecting that's what they go for there, and I really like the Ivern shout out. I think Armeo, I mean, he did get kind of owned on it in one game yesterday against FlyQuest, but overall still really strong champion, something he's still very generally good at.
Yeah, it was just that one game, the fast game that they had in Game 3 that the Ivern didn't look so hot on. But then the second game, he played it again. It wasn't too terrible. So I'm looking to see what EGC want to get here. I kind of like that Renekton that you were talking about there, Keel, because I think that's been such an important factor for Cincinnati Fear. And the fact that that has been left open and, yep, there it is, locked in. Because I don't feel like you have to go for the Ivern here. That Renekton just makes so much sense. And now, Philip, what's the backup plan? The Jax?
I mean, Jax is banned away. That's why I'm really not sure.
Yeah. I technically, we know the Rumble is a big one. In general, a really strong laner and a great answer into the Renekton. We just haven't seen Philip play it, and it doesn't really fit what Fear want to do. That's why we've been hyping up this Renekton pick, talking about how important it is for Fear because they don't really play towards Philip. And we got to see what they're actually going to do so they can try and facilitate him a little more in this early game. Because Renekton is really the only kind of self-sufficient top lane champion at the moment here. And wow. Okay, so it's the Poppy.
Okay, a Poppy top lane. That is something that we don't see too often. I feel like this is one of those picks that I actually really do like, especially when you show this Kai'Sa and Renekton. It's something that's going to be really solid with the team, especially because now you have Manui on this Aphelios, not going for one of the mages. Kind of going back to the tried and true with the ADCs that we saw a lot of in spring for Manui. And this
even in summer, it was his most played actually. The Aphelios.
Oh yeah,
true. Because we did draft prep against Fear. That's what we noticed too. Is like even though he does like the mages, he still was down to play Aphelios and Xayah. Yes. So yeah, with the mages ban makes sense.
For sure. And I think maybe at the first game of the series, not going to do anything too crazy, too spicy yet. So I think going for comfort here, especially off the back of what was a tough loss, it makes a lot of sense here. And credit to EG, banning away things like the Yone. I imagine Shochi's going to be getting a lot of attention here because mid is something they're trying to, pick a little later on into this draft. They try to set up for Shochi so very often, and it shows.
And I like this Nocturne ban here from Fear, because that is another champion that Armeo has been playing quite a decent amount. They might even try to force Armeo onto that Ivern, something that really isn't going to be able to skirmish by itself too early on into the game. Maybe make it a little bit easier for Perry to kind of utilize that Sejuani, especially because you do have the melee top showing, and you were kind of calling out like Shochi on his mid lane picks. With the Yone being banned, they could still want to go for something maybe more melee focused, really to have the double up solo lane melees, but I'm kind of looking at what is still left and available for them to take here that we've seen Shochi play a lot. I mean, the Zed is something that they could play here for Shochi, but it's like, but the Jace makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Jace. I really like the Rel ban because I was thinking about it as soon as I saw the Alistar come through there. So you got to imagine it's just going to be a Nautilus or something, another go button to put into Smoothie's hands. Rakan is taken away from him as well. But I mean, with the Ivern, they're actually going to hold off until the very end, get the best support matchup possible there for Smoothie and King.
I'm surprised Fear left up Ivern. I think it's one of the best picks available for EG. Like a lot of the AD junglers are not great into the Poppy or the Sejuani. So it's kind of the only like pairing with the LeBlanc that was left, and just pretty OP into Fear, I think.
Yeah, it is one of those things that is going to make it really difficult. Like I said, I feel like Fear should have known that and kind of seen that coming, especially with that Nocturne ban, that the Ivern would be the go-to for Armeo instead. And with locking in this Nautilus for JJ, kind of taking that away from Smoothie, they do have good non-committal engage, which I do like about having a Nautilus on the team, especially because now this is an identity we've seen a lot out of Fear. You have 3 beefy frontliners in Sejuani, Poppy, and Nautilus. And this is one of those things I think was able to really beat a lot of teams earlier in the tournament and really showed their power, was they had these 3 beefy frontliners that then were able to protect and peel for things like this Aphelios and Azir that they've gotten themselves here against EGC. While EGC, they are really about skirmishing and flanking, trying to get onto these backlines, which is going to be really difficult against all that front line.
I love the Braum. Ball laners will always tell you can't play Kai'Sa with Braum because they love laning phase, but Braum is 1v9 here. Best champ in the game. Big fan of EG's job.
Yeah, I mean, who are you thinking about? Do you have like a particular favorite, early, middle, late? What are you thinking here? Do you think the Braum literally just makes this like just Thanos?
No, I mean, I was gonna say Fear kind of did need a mage mid, like even though it's not Shochi's like preferred way to play. It makes sense that they went for the Azir.
Yeah.
I was more surprised they leaned into that because it's kind of hard to play Zed, for example. So I guess they were just willing to play a more like front to back type of game, and no, Fear can definitely get ahead early. They have a lot of engage to get onto the Ivern comp. Yeah, it's kind of gonna be a matter of like the top side, honestly. and then how they play the dragon fights, I think, will determine the game.
True. I mean, top has been so important there for Fear. Again, we were kind of highlighting the Renekton and how big it is for this team, and what else Philip has in the tank. I mean, Poppy, not exactly the sort of 1v9 style champion, but is tanky, has a lot of utility, and could even set up Fear for those Rift Herald fights. I know usually Renekton is like the Herald machine. You usually win that if you're there, but one good Keeper's Verdict could kind of mess that up a little bit.
And one thing I like about having Poppy as well is the fact that with all these dashes that EGC have, it kind of does mitigate a lot of that when the fights happen. By the way, just so everyone knows, there is a delay in the game. We're actually going to bring back Mazel so that we can talk a little bit more about this game. So welcome back, Lennon. How are you doing? Let's get your thoughts on the draft. Wait, hold on. You're muted, but biological issues.
Oh,
Lennon, you're muted. So once you get it unmuted.
Oh my goodness! I love that it's biological issues while
someone's
I'm having
fighting
technical
demons.
issues. It's crazy. Somebody's fighting demons over there.
Yeah.
Fighting the good fight. We're fighting the good fight. It's been. I said when I got back, even though I was muted, it's been so long. Oh my God, we've grown. We've changed. We also didn't get to see any mages in bot lane. I'm a little sad about that, but you know, Keel, I do want to ask you a little bit. When you have moments like this, when you have so much pressure on the table, when you have a ticket to Los Angeles on the line, what do you feel like the prep, what do you feel like the mindset of a player should be, or I guess is, in these kinds of situations?
I think especially for game one, both teams kind of just committed to like a comp that at least like makes sense together. Like they're pretty cohesive. It's pretty like simple for everyone to know their job, I think. And they're gonna try and like lean in a lot to just like playing as a team for both teams seemingly. I think most importantly is no matter the result of game one, you just have to go into the next game feeling confident in everyone else, because it's just gonna be a long series. And like no matter how game one goes, either team can still win as long as you don't like doubt each other and like doubt the whole draft, doubt your planning. Just like staying consistent.
Yeah, sticking with the plan. I like that. And I think the plan is pretty clear so far. I love that we have our big focus, at least in some carry potentials in bot lane. But I find the skirmishing is going to be rampant here, Beatdown, especially with the way that we have our game one playing out. And that could lean to a lot of the draft kind of evolution throughout the best of 5.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, this is a big thing for both Fear and EGC. I mean, Fear especially. I would criticize them for fighting a little too much at times, but they really turned that around into playoffs.
You don't want to go to a 50-minute banger in your first game of a best of 5?
That's fine. That's fine. I'm ready for those. But I'm just saying more like, okay, well, why are we even fighting here? Things like that. But it doesn't matter. That's not as big an issue anymore. I think overall what's interesting to me is that top lane, because again, like I really can't stress how the way I've seen Fear play these last couple of weeks, Philip has had an insane amount of Renekton games, and that pressure is something that has been so useful to Fear, and how they play out the early games is part of how they can play for Shochi especially. So now that he is playing the Poppy, still a more facilitating style champion, has Fear actually found that adaptation to overcome what caused them to lose against GSG.
Now, I'm always one for some drama. I'm always one for some narrative. Match, I'm going to check in with you here, because we have a little undercurrent of a story here where Perry have a little bit of history with Armeo. We have a delay, so we get to go into it here. Do we have any bad blood? Do you think there's some revenge storyline going here?
I don't think there's gonna be bad blood between. Yeah, not bad blood.
Come on, that's exaggerated, but come on, give me some.
I think they're both too nice of people to really have bad blood between themselves, and that's the reason why I'm like, just knowing both of them, like I think they're both more excited about the matchup than anything else. Like I think that they're ready for this one and just feel like Perry's gonna come into this one like, hey Armeo, you've beaten me in the past. It is my turn to knock you out.
You're not gonna do it again.
Exactly. I'm not gonna let you do this again. I'm gonna get me here. I'm gonna be the one to win.
All right, guys, you're off in the game. Have fun and good luck.
Thank you so much, Mazel, and we are loaded up onto the Rift for Game 1 of the lower finals. Winner of this game, this series, will go to Los Angeles to face off against Disguise in the grand finals. And as everyone's loaded up onto the Rift and how to get it ready. Oh, wait a minute. We might have a little bit of a skirmish before I could even get either of these. Nice cleanse already. The flash gonna have to be blown. Double sums early on. That is brutal to lose from Manui.
Yeah, that feels bad. And something I want to point out too, this is actually something that EGC did in their previous series as well. Really smart level 1s. They were able to find early summoner spells pretty consistently, so you got to give him props for that.
Minions have spawned.
Yeah, so early on, Keel, kind of looking at that play for EGC, getting these double sums out of Manui so early on into the game. What are we kind of gotta expect from this pathing from Armeo? You kind of said before that the Kai'Sa Braum matchup, you know, you're not really gonna have the strongest lane, but it's really outside of that that's gonna be powerful. Do you still expect, though, that despite that Armeo might go to the bot lane?
Looks like Armel will just go to top side at least for his first clear. The sums will still be down after his first base, so they'll still have a timer, at least one, to look for later on. Looks like Armel just didn't want to like fully adapt off the level 1 because, you know, like you said, it's not that urgent with the lanes. So it looks like he's probably going to play the top side early. Ivern does definitely beat Sejuani 1v1 on the first clear, just because he'll be a little bit higher level, like before Sej can hit level 4. But it's still like somewhat close if they're fighting with their laners.
Okay, so gonna look at that for Armeo and how his clear is right now, and just with the Ivern doing Ivern things, you know, getting everything prepped and gonna revisit, take everything. As for Perry, though, going for that full clear, trying to get to that level 4 spike as quickly as possible. Might even try to make a play towards the top lane. And this is kind of something you guys were talking about a little bit. When we look at Philip and we look at Fear, every game that they have won so far in playoffs was with Philip on this Renekton and playing towards this top lane. But when they lost, it was whenever Philip wasn't on that Renekton. Now here on the Poppy, do you still think that this is now going to be the kind of adaptation that Fear need to make, is still play through Philip early into the game?
I mean, Philip on this pick, it's actually pretty good when you get more levels, some items into Renekton, because this Poppy, you're just going to get so tanky. Once you get Sunfire, you're going to feel really good about your ability to stay in lane 1v1 and things like that. So the question is just going to be, what's Surdy going to be able to get early on? I mean, we credit him for how strong of a laner he is. He's on a very lane-dominant champion. So will he be able to get these early CS leads, early plates, and lead EGC to that early Rift Herald that we were talking about before the game started?
It's like
This will be a
Armeo.
close race here. Perry might actually be able to get it in time. Well played to Perry.
Nice.
Yeah, very close. And look, that Armeo is even kind of pathing, looking to see if maybe the Wolves were still up, anything available, realizing that all of it has been cleared out by Perry. And as you called out, Gil, doing a good job there on that Sejuani. The only problem is going to be the loss here on that Scuttle Crab. So Armeo going to grab that recall, but it should ultimately be traded by Perry as he is pathing down towards that bot lane. And not going for the top lane play, kind of like I was expecting. And this is where I'm going to default to you, Gil. You know, as the jungler here, and how would you go for either side of this matchup? What would be your game plan with the current state of the game?
Well, I do think for Fear, this is not a draft or like a style that they often play to. So it's been a good start for them. I think both teams kind of need to wait for like at least level 6. Neither of them feel like particularly pressured. I think the game will just be a lot about like team fighting. Maybe even like Ivern 6 to like start fighting objectives and like taking them and forcing fights. But other than that, EG just have like some sort of winning lanes. But each team is pretty happy to just play in the mid game, I think.
Philip getting brutalized there by Surdy in the top lane, and even putting down a nice ward, because it's one of those situations you're like, all right, he's got a level lead over me. The experience is there for the Renekton. He could always show up into the top lane and make my life hell, but it's going to be fine for now. I'm imagining if Surdy hits level 6 before Philip's able to reset, though, we're probably going to see Surdy attempt a solo dive.
Ooh, Ryoma?
Getting scary for Shoji.
Shoji, you have flash. There you go, but you're right over to Armeo, so you die with the shield on top. Might be in the trade back, though. Perry flashing forward to make sure to pick up the kill, and now even fighting with Armeo in the minions. Going to be difficult for either side. Both of them taking low health as a had to go for the trade, but it is still ultimately going to be EGC who benefit from the play, getting that first blood for Ryoma.
Yeah, and the minion wave pretty good for Ryoma, so I think it's overall probably a win for EG.
Yeah,
See this
I agree. I mean, props to Ryoma too. I mean, LeBlanc has been so big for him into playoffs. Even in losses, he's had some good performances, and I like the angle here, just recognizing that his jungler is nearby and that he can go for this 1v1. And even though Perry shows up, it's like you said, Keel, like this is a huge benefit for EG just because Brave is good for Ryoma. Perry couldn't get it shoved in.
I think if he would have let Ivern just flash auto or just auto instead, he probably could have lived too, but understandable he wants to kill himself.
Yeah.
Can't blame him too much, yeah.
greedy LeBlanc play. As someone who likes to play LeBlanc himself, I understand it as well.
Yep.
I would totally go for the same play, but Shochi not flashing there. That was the only thing that kind of struck me. He's kind of waiting the whole time, thinking that he had that benefit of parry nearby, but it was Armeo who was really in the awaiting arms, ready for the play to kind of answer back. And ultimately, EGC gonna feel very strong from that play because Ryoma comes back into lane, keeping Shochi pinned under his turret, just keeping the wave frozen. So this Azir cannot do anything further against Ryoma as well. Ryoma going for what is now the old build for LeBlanc, the static shiv that we kind of seen fallen out of favor on this recent patch.
Yeah, it's an
he
interesting...
also... Oh, sorry. Well, I guess he's not even solo AP either, so it kind of makes sense, you know? Like, he's got King on the AP Kaisa, presumably. So, I think he could have gone for either build. Maybe they just really want to snowball this game. I like the Dragon from Armal just because he doesn't have any camps up anyway, even though it's pretty slow for Ivern. He's got the help of his team, so pretty good Dragon.
Yeah, and the thing to add, too, about the build Ryoma's going for, he's the only LeBlanc right now in playoffs who's been actually still going the static shiv. We even asked Getback yesterday his opinion on it. Still believes it's good in the right circumstances, and considering how EG, they're the only team who really tries to play to 3 lanes, having that shove with the static shiv is a really big way for them to be able to get that.
Gonna help them out a lot, especially because you got 2 winning lanes, top lane, now mid lane for Ryoma. After that first blood kill, you can see the pressure that he's gotten onto Shochi and keeping him pinned underneath this turret. The only one that's not necessarily winning for EGC is the spot lane, but it's kind of net neutral for either side, which across the board just means that EGC, they're the ones winning out. And you talked about the snowball potential going for this build that provides for EGC. Well, you got a Renekton on your team as well. The team fights are going to be really strong. And this is where for Cincinnati Fear, I'm just wondering, what can they do at this point in the game when you're starting to fall behind incrementally? Slowly but surely, you're losing out on the neutrals, you're losing out on the minions, and you're not really getting any pressure back onto EGC. When is it going to be possible for Cincinnati Fear to actually utilize the beefy front lines and the carries in the back line for these late game fight heal?
I do think Fear's answer right now is just look around the flashless LeBlanc. They got the Azir shuffle and just a bunch of CC on their mid jungle support. Because I do think EG is probably pretty, like, slightly favored in the Herald fight if they just like take it straight up.
Yeah.
So I think Fear has to look on the LeBlanc as they were, and they're doing good about like controlling the vision and not letting EG like rush the Herald. So yeah, they're just like posturing right now. They're not in the terrible spot. They just gotta keep playing around the LeBlanc.
Wow, so Perry's just gonna go ahead and start this one up. I mean, Philip has a slight health advantage, but Perry's doing it on vision, taking advantage of Ryoma walking. Yeah, like they know. But the thing is, JJ is on the way, as you said, so it really isn't gonna be that simple as long as he stays.
Smoothie tried to flash in on bottom too and didn't get any sums.
Yeah, okay, JJ is actually retreating from the play, going into the bot lane, fearful of a potential dive, I think, onto Manui, which means that it could... Oh, wait, who got it?
Perry got it in just a smite fight, yeah.
It was a smite fight. Now he's in danger. Where do you go, I said, Dwadi here? You might be tanky, but you are surrounded. The flash for flash from the junglers as Perry's still getting chased down. Ryoma connecting the chains with no Arctic Assault to get out of that one. They get the root and follow it up with the CC. Perry just killing a lot of time, though. That's the big thing. A lot of time burn to get that kill onto Perry. Could help out on other factors of the map, especially because he did get the Rift Herald like you called out, Beat.
I mean, I will say, I don't know what you think, Heel, but that seems kind of worth for me for Fear. You waste a lot of time, you get summoners out of top and jungle, and you do still have the Rift Herald to play with in the end, so there's still that option for Perry to make a play and get more gold on the map.
It's definitely not terrible. It's like, at worst, kind of even. So yeah, definitely not bad. Also just denies the Herald from EG, who have the ability to take plates more easily. So like they maybe had the potential to take like a full top tower or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Armal's still playing topside, but Daisy about to expire.
And make this dive difficult, especially because Perry's there. Ooh, nice reaction flash there from Ryoma mid lane. Even though it is LeBlanc, and he could have just distortioned away still afterwards. The reaction there from Ryoma to make sure that there wasn't going to be any follow-up. But without that flash, he's now forced back. He's got the TP with a skirmish potentially breaking out in the river, and again onto Perry. Could have been dire, but they will be fine.
Now, Fear looking for a lot of skirmishes. We talked about this being a big part of that early game, and you can see it. Static Shiv's not only done, you got an Amp Tome. This LeBlanc is building up some magic damage. And Ryoma's been getting the better of Shochi for the most part in terms of CS, health trades, and things like that. He is going to be a problem because you're going to worry about people like this LeBlanc and like Surdy on this Renekton threatening your carry like Manui. Doesn't have the most amount of peel, especially with how Fierce Comp is just trying to move forward.
Shochi, fearful here underneath the turret. Ryoma is looking for that angle to kill him solo underneath the turret, but the fact that Perry shows and then seeing JJ in the jungle decides to back out. Daisy still going to be called to make sure that there's not going to be a further play there for Cincinnati Fear, completely denying them anything. But the camp that Armeo was trying to steal away, going to be denied by Perry.
He actually won't have Daisy for the dragon too, so I wonder if EG tries to stall. There'll be like a small window where Fear will have no Daisy advantage at least. Maybe they can look on the flashless LeBlanc. It's probably their biggest play. I think they should try to contest the dragon for Fear. Or at least make a Herald play at the same time. Because I think the onus is on Fear to try to do something around this timer in the game.
Do you think like it's a drop Herald mid just to make space? Is there a specific play you'd look for, Keel, or what are you thinking?
I think they should just really try and look on the LeBlanc. Not even just... Ideally, you can get a good Herald play off rather than just dropping it.
Yeah.
Because they're actually like relatively strong right now. Yeah, I don't think Fear has any reason to be too scared. They can kind of progress the game.
You gotta see that right there from Philip. Walking up, even against Surdy. We've been bullying him all game long. Just like, yeah, I'm not really that afraid of your kill threat anymore. It's Sunfire time. He gets that shove on a Surdy. He can back off. There's already the Dragon started up by Cincinnati Fear because they already got the priority with all the resets from EGC. So equating the neutral objectives there in Dragons, one apiece for either team. Gonna work out pretty well here for Cincinnati Fear, and I think kind of going into what you were talking about, Keel, and like, looking at Fear, they shouldn't be afraid right now. They are really looking to put that pressure back onto EGC to either take the gold lead or at least equate it.
Yeah, they got the Herald off too. Minui might have overstayed.
Yeah, maybe, especially with the Daisy
slows from
up.
Daisy could be trouble, yeah.
Let's see, he does have flash and cleanse, so there's the flash. Waiting for the cleanse underneath the turret. That's going to be the killer instinct, though. Underneath the turret, looking for the heal from Severum. Not enough.
That's brutal. Wanted to stay for those extra plates, does get punished. And, I mean, that's a kill on to King. I think so far, Manui's been playing all right in this bottom lane. But now King getting gold on this Kai'Sa, and we now know he's going the AD version, even took lethal tempo. He feels he will be auto-attacking a lot. Means you're going to feel every one of those auto attacks with every bit of extra gold King gets for himself. And being that late game kind of scaling champion Kai'Sa is, it's really good for EG.
Gotta look here, looking at how these two teams are built. We look at a lot more experience on EGC. Players that have been around the scene a lot longer and have that experience. So when you have pressure like this, we see this deep run they've made in the lower bracket. Getting knocked down right away by FlyQuest after suffering an 0-2 loss to them. And then tearing up the lower bracket to get all the way to here. Really kind of shines a light on how much that experience can really help out. As for Cincinnati Fear, this is a younger team. Emotions are going to be a big factor for them. We're kind of seeing them right now struggle here against EGC. And I'm just curious to see, as these rookies, and Gil, speaking to you on this front, like, what kind of a mindset do you think that Fear are in this position?
Just knowing the Fear players, I think they kind of love being the underdog, at least to some degree. I don't think they really mind. But I definitely could also see them maybe getting a little like tilted or just like unsure how to play, because their draft is just not how they often like playing, as far as I'm aware. So hopefully they can just find
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just hard for them to really force these fights early. Like even like the way they were trying to play, like maybe they were just a bit unsure how to progress the game, but it's a good play here.
Looking for a forced fight on a Smoothie, but that glacial fissure was huge. That was great for them with the depth charge on a King, but they've got a lot of damage, and Philip is the first one here, flashing forward with the buckler to pick up the kill, as Ryoma was too late with the TP to join in, so it's just going to be the simple kill for Philip.
That's 2 teleports that Evil Geniuses used, and all that got them was a death onto Smoothie. So you get 2 really valuable resources out from Evil Geniuses, and we're going to see the replay again. Armeo is nearby. They like the idea of this fight going through at first, but I mean, Manui has red-white. He's getting a lot of damage down. and is able to get a lot of auto attacks coming through here. Special props to JJ for flashing, getting that ult on the King, making it easier for, well, this.
The buckler kill from Philip, just to make sure that they get that kill onto Smoothie, so the play is worthwhile. And going into what you were just talking about, Keel, forcing these fights, Fear, after that, it does seem like they feel a lot more confident to start up and really put that pressure back onto EGC, even though they are still behind in gold about 1,300. They're still playing very far forward, looking for these plays against EGC. They still got to be wary, because Ryoma, the first one to rotate here, and with Philip having no TP stuck in the bot lane, they can't really fight over this Rift Herald.
Fear also doesn't have ults. I think they really need the Nautilus or Sejuani onto either like an Ivern or a LeBlanc to really start the fight favorably. I think that's kind of why that last fight went well. They just pulled EG into them and then turned on them. It's probably the best way they can play as of now.
Yeah, and I think waiting on those cooldowns, waiting on everything to happen, that's why Fear is smart that they just give up the Rift Herald, let it go over to EGC. They could try to force a fight in a better situation like that play top lane they could have looked for if it hadn't been for the wards. But I think right now Fear aren't in a bad position. They got themselves a lot of plates and a lot of damage on it to the spot lane turret beforehand, and Philip, the fact that he didn't TP, was able to get a Demolish proc onto that bot lane tier 1 with resets from EGC. Might be a little bit more damage that comes onto this top lane turret 2 for Cincinnati Fear, which could set them up later. But now we got to put the onus on to EGC, the team that has the lead, and how they can look to play around a lot of this. The dragon spawning up soon, Keel. Oh,
hello.
Wait a minute. Hello.
Nice
You can't face check that one, Ryoma. That was greedy.
That is huge for Fear too.
Yeah, I really like the vision toggle because I actually thought JJ had completed the back. So even I got jump scared a little bit by the Nautilus ulti coming through. So it's a really good angle. And Ryoma was just no way to make anything happen. And the fact that the rest of EG are elsewhere, you actually just get another wave in. You're denying gold and XP. I like that Fear are not actually going for the turret. Oh, I take it back, Manui. He just wants to go ahead and take it.
Yeah,
so
they might as well. They might as well just keep Manui there. It is only the second dragon of the game for EGC to get. But Perry, Philip, they're both kind of positioning around, maybe looking for that steal. That's going to be the Scryer's Bloom, getting the vision on top of it. Perry, there's a blast cone, but I don't think you want to get inside that pit. It's going to be difficult, especially because you look at how they're positioning.
Oh,
there it is.
wow.
Very close, though.
I really thought he was going to go for that one there. What do you think that was, Perry? Not Perry, sorry. Keel, you think he was thinking about it, or what's...
He was just seeing if he could get a lucky steal. I don't think he ever wanted to commit.
Yeah. I would have been surprised if he ever Arctic assaulted forward for that one. It was literally, I think he was just like, oh, I'll fish. I'll see what I can get. And
yeah, very understandable. We had nothing else to do anyway. And then as Fear gets more of these items on their carries especially, I think it could be really scary for EG if they ever misstep like Ryoma did in the top push. Because Fear have the ability to really one-shot people, and then once they do, the EG comp falls apart, I think, if any of them get caught.
Especially because Ryoma has the most gold on the team. That was shutdown gold picked up for Manui as well. That's a big flop there for EGC to kind of lose out on that. But they still have that pressure back. It's not like they lost complete control. Ryoma still has a massive lead over anybody else in the game. They're getting that turret top lane too, and putting this pressure with the Rift Herald into the top lane tier 2 is going to make it so that Fear have to answer. They have to send members up here to deal with that so they don't lose out on even more gold to EGC.
Yeah, I will say Manui is able to get a pretty deep push on the bottom side as well. So it's not all really losses there, and it is still actually allowing EG to, or rather Fear, to catch up a little bit.
Oh, they're looking
really
for
nice.
Surdy, but Surdy can flash away, death charge. Man, that was a lot of damage though from Manui. A lot more than I expected.
Stephelios, almost 2 items. He has the Kraken Slayer, so he's going to be doing a lot of damage later on into the game, as Keel pointed out. So you get the Summoner spell out. There could be an angle where they get another look on Surdy after, because it's Flash and Ult that are down, and it's something they could look to try and punish before the next Drake fight.
Fear also have a really fast Baron, so if they're ever in a situation, they can always turn to Baron instead of Dragon if they wanted to. Especially with the IE on Manui, he has like the raw damage build.
Oh man.
So I think Fear, if they can manage to get a good hook, a good Sejuani ult, they can really one-shot whoever they're focusing down. Especially with the flashless Renekton now.
And that's the big thing. That's kind of what I was trying to highlight when we were in draft. You look at EGC's draft, and it's very squishy, very susceptible. if you get jumped on by any of these members of Fear, they can burst you down so quickly. Well, you can't really do the same to Cincinnati Fear. Poppy, Sejuani, Nautilus, all standing in front of an Azir and a Felios. It's so difficult for any of these members of EGC to get on top of the backline.
I will say, Ryoma playing the LeBlanc is the one exception to that, because that's kind of what this champ is all about. With the Static Shiv, you're really good at split pushing, wave clear, and things like that, but you can see the Night Harvester going towards the Lich Bane. Ryoma will do a lot of damage to this backline. LeBlanc goes around, over walls, can kind of cheat the terrain and get away from the front line and pressure people like Shochi and Manui. So it does make that really important with what Keel's been highlighting. And whether or not Ryoma is the one getting blown up in this fight, it's going to be really integral for EGC.
We are starting to get to those 2 item spikes for a lot of our players. And King not opting to go for that AP Kaisa build that we're so used to seeing. Really going back to more the static build with going for the actual marksman for the team.
Philip also just has Evan Shroud on top Poppy. Yeah. Pretty respectable. They're all just trying to kill the front target. I guess I understand the logic, yeah. I don't hate it necessarily, yeah.
Right now, things are kind of slow. I'm expecting Dragon to be where teams set their sights on. Might need to hold that thought.
Yeah, especially because Manui having to flash, and look at that, they follow up, and he's already gone golden. Can you keep Manui alive? Survive! Again. He did a lot of damage before dying, but that's going to be the effort to find, keeping Perry on the other side of the wall, and with EGC on top of him, even if you're a tank, you'll eventually fall to the might of EGC.
I mean, that was a 1 for 2, not as bad as it could have been, but good for EG to take advantage of the fact that, one, they had this play on Manui, and Philip doesn't have TP. He can't join because he teleported top, and it didn't end up mattering that much. So now EG, they continue to hold pressure onto this Baron, and they are set up really well for the Dragon, because now Manui, after this play, he doesn't have flash.
No flash. Gonna be very susceptible. No stopwatch either. This kind of goes to what you're talking about, Beat, where the one power that you have for EGC against what Fear have brought to the table is that LeBlanc.
King barely went down, otherwise EG would have had the free Baron, but I guess now it's very, honestly, not terrible for Fear since they managed to not lose Nash off of it. They just need to build this Dragon fight coming up, and now it looks like they might even play in the Nash side as well.
Yeah, I think they've cleared up a lot of that vision that you highlighted, Keel, and they do have really fast Baron take. That is something EG needs to be careful of as they set up, but right now, it's the battle for the mid push.
Yeah, and if King dies, EGC have terrible Baron Asher take, so it's going to be really difficult. They have to keep King alive. That's what I'm saying. They have to keep King alive. If King dies, they can't really take it. So when a fight like this breaks out, we got to look if they can get on top of King. If they can deny that from being a possibility for EGC, they can win the fight, but they can't. King's still alive. Fear, they're on the run, and there goes King into the back line. That Cincinnati Fear, we're not able to kill the King, and when he cannot topple him, you lose out on the Baron.
And that's the big difference maker here. EG, they pick up thousands of gold, and they are going to get that Baron. And now, Fear found all of a sudden, despite being able to answer back so much through this game, they're in a really dangerous spot.
Oh, Shochi even dying solo. He will trade it back with the help of Leandries, but it doesn't matter. 4 members are still alive for EGC, and like we said, the Kaisa being one of them, they can take the Turo Baron buff for themselves.
I think the main thing for EG there is they were able to go in right before Shochi arrived, and Shochi wasn't able to use the Emperor's Divide to really like impact the fights. Maybe he had to run away before anything really could happen. Like this front engage from EG is really good for Fear, but EG managed to just get it off like fast enough that Shochi couldn't really influence it. Yeah,
I think part of it too is Surdy.
Yeah.
Surdy also on that Renekton. You saw the Daisy knockup come through. Surdy, who has his flash backup, is able to just get on top, get so much AoE damage with the Dominus, and basically kill Manui by himself.
This is very scary for Fear because Minwi is still no flash and he's not stuck in the pit.
Yeah, but he is red-white, so he looks to fight. Has the damage, there's Moonlight Vigil, but it's on to Smoothie, so they try to turn on a Surdy instead, getting a lot of damage, punching away, but they've lost stun. They can trade the Baron, the Dragon, help them out. They get the stun as well, looking to continue to chase, but now here. They've got the kills. You couldn't step up like that. It's a quadruple for King, as Shochi, the last surviving member, does not want to give the Penta to EGC.
Oh,
disaster for Fear. Yeah.
I mean, Manui, he goes a little too far. It was looking so good. He was keeping all of his health, doing insane damage. And now, EGC, they just pick up more gold and their Mountain Soul Point.
I think with the Kai'Sa build King has, he has so much damage when the Renekton is even able to just dive into Poppy on repeat and just be able to tank it all. It's just, yeah, he's just making space for King to hit, and then Fear is just melting way too fast for them to keep up with.
And now you're about to get 3 items here for your Kai'Sa as well. That late game insurance is going to be even stronger. We take a look at this play, and it looked good at first for Fear, but as you called out, Manui, I think, just steps too far forward and doesn't respect that Ryoma is on his way.
Yeah, I mean, so far, like, he's playing well, he's spacing and getting a lot of damage out. Here is where the problem ends up coming through. He is way too deep right now, and he ends up getting punished for it. You're jumping into LeBlanc Distortion, the Acathian Rain from King, and just like that, like, a good fight gets completely ruined.
Yeah, most importantly, again, I think Shochi just couldn't hit, so it's essentially a 4v5 for Fear. I think they had to really think about their positioning after getting that first pick.
Perry just ulted the LeBlanc clone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh god.
Pain.
Hey.
Yeah, look, Shochi only got 50 damage off in the fight, like one little Azir Soldier auto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the real difference. If Fear can start a fight like that, it's actually really good as long as they can kite back after the initial engage.
But that's the thing. They got to be able to kite back. They got to be able to play that. Now they're down 7,000 gold. 3 dragons into the game. 2 of them being the Mountain Dragon to give even more resistances. So that burst potential that we saw from Fear looking less likely now onto any of these members of EGC.
Yeah, Surdy and Smoothie, they're going to be very happy about those extra Mountain Drakes. That Mountain Soul buff coming through here, and now we're just seeing countless examples again for EGC and how they continue to pressure multiple lanes. Every time Fear try to answer something is lost. And remember, when it started going EGC's way, it was a 3,000 gold lead. Now we're looking at 7,600 because Fear, they've been mostly grouping this entire time.
They're flashing for this one. They got the flashes out of King, but with the TBs coming in, that's for Keeper's Verdict, not connecting on anybody. But look at Ryoma, already popping Manui. He's gone. There goes your damage. You have to now rely on Shochi, 4v4. But with not Ryoma there, hard to get on top of this Azir. The pull back in on a Smoothie. Glacial Fissure trying to disrupt the fight as Perry dashing away. But look at King, hitting that Acathian Rain. Raining hell upon EGC's head. They've got it all. Fear's got nowhere to go. There he goes into the back line. Double kill. Looking for the triple, but it's taken away. Doesn't matter. It's the ace for EGC.
And it's off the back of Ryoma. Going past the front line like we were talking about to blow up Manui before he could do any damage. We finally saw Shochi get to auto attack, but it didn't matter. King is way too strong.
Now he's 8-1. I said those 3 items got to be important, and they sure as hell were. Because now with Fear, they can't do anything to him. He gets so much damage on before any of these tanky members can even get on top of this Kai'Sa. With a 10,000, almost 11,000 gold lead for EGC here at 29 minutes into the game. It is looking all over here for Fear. And I don't know what kind of miracle they need to come back into this game.
I mean, Keel, what do you think? If you're in Fear's position, like, what's the game plan? How do you come back from this kind of deficit you're in? Now it's 10,000 gold.
I was gonna say, I think it is all up to Minwi. So the 1-for-1 from Riona was not even bad necessarily. Like LeBlanc's value, if she's not poking them out, like if you can manage the 1-for-1, it's like equally worth.
Yes.
I think Minwi really has to just somehow find a way to live the initial engage and just keep hitting with good guns. Yeah. Probably the only way for Fear to play.
Oh, missing the ult there on King, was looking for that one. King was able to react in time, get out of that one. With 4 members still strong here. Ryoma, not a part of this one. It could be the turn coming in from Fear if they want to try to get on top of EGC while they have
in top
the
lane too. Fear have to go in.
Yeah,
they gotta do something.
You're so scared too because it's Daisy is still up. You don't really have great targets to go for, but the hesitation, they gotta pull the trigger.
Yeah, level 16 Ivern too. Daisy's like a whole nother champion at this point.
Yeah.
Ryan also with the Lich Bane. He's going to take that turret so quickly. Fear's indecision means that they lose out that inhibitor in the top lane. That will be oh no, the inhibitor will stand. Perry's
got to go.
Going to show up, so it will still be strong. Or is it? Wait, Ryoma, he went back in. Like I said, he's got the Lich Bane. He can take this quickly, and King, he's the one on the Baron. They're just trying to pull apart Fear.
Their Baron take it so fast too. Fear's only hope is that they can go to the dragon, burst that down immediately, but still, they've lost so much here. EGC playing this mid to late game so very well. Again, they just keep picking apart Fear, trying to see what they're going to be able to answer, and as time goes on, it's less and less.
I will say, if Fear can survive one Baron Siege, if they can survive the next 3 minutes of this game, they have a chance to win, but it will be very hard for them to,
Well, they gotta survive the base, the fight on top of it, because right now 30 in the middle of 3.
It's a huge pick. I didn't get the bases off.
But look at mid. Look at mid. That's gonna be the problem. They've already taken down the inhibitor turret. The inhibitor will fall as well with the Turbo Baron buff on EGC's head on these 3 strong members. No Nexus turrets. Ryoma got both of them right in the awaiting arms of Philip. So Philip, he's got nothing. He's too low. And JJ hex flashing away. The base is in complete tatters for Cincinnati Fear.
Okay, Sturdy also has TP on spawn, so pretty much EG have to just not mess up this one sequence, and they should be in a good spot. But if Fear manages to survive, they're going to have so much gold that it will actually be winnable.
Yeah, you're going to have double supers in every lane for these next couple of minutes, so it's just about surviving and cashing in as best you can. But like you said, Magical and Keel, the Baron buff is still up, so it's just going to be about whether or not Fear can actually weather the storm, and the onus is on EG, because they have so much power on the map. You can see the gold graph and what this gold lead has become for Evil Genius Challengers and what Fear are fighting against here at 32 minutes in the game.
I will be honest right now. I think that EGC can completely bumble this next play as long as Ryoma is alive. As long as Ryoma is alive, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
because
true. Okay.
With the Lich Vein there, 4 items for this LeBlanc. That Nexus will die in an instant. Literally everyone else on EGC can die as long as Ryoma survives. That's all that matters, as Fear cannot leave their base. Look at how fearful they have to be because there's a TP bot lane.
Ryoma TPing in the bottom too.
Yeah, and they got to do something now. Again, the Lich Bane is there. 5 items. This is a full build LeBlanc. All she has to do is auto the Nexus a couple times, and it is done. This is for game 1.
This is game 1, and now he's on top of the Nexus while the fight breaks out on the other side. There's already JJ's for the casualty. Shochi's going to be the next one for the double kill coming in from King. Make it more as they got the Croc, but doesn't matter when King is so powerful in the middle of all for a Penta. No, not the Penta. Ryoma stole it, but the quadra kill cements game 1 victory for EGC.
I'll tell you what, it's still got to feel pretty damn good for King as Evil Geniuses. It was a little back and forth for a bit, but once they dropped the hammer at that dragon fight, the game was done.
Game done. It was, honestly, it was EGC, and we see a lot of that expertise, the experience that they have coming in from the passive, the patience they have on a lot of these plays that I think really helped pick apart and pull apart Cincinnati Fear as a team that is a lot younger and more used to playing this fast and reckless style here, Keel.
Yeah, I mean, Fear even had side select coming in, so I'm curious if they'll like fully adopt their bans and like picks even. Maybe they want to run it back. I'm really just curious what identity they'll go for in the next draft. I think that's not something they were used to playing, at least in playoffs. So yeah, maybe they go for a 180.
Yeah, we'll have to see. For now, we're going to toss it to a break. When we come back, we'll bring back Mazel for a Rally Cry halftime show. You won't want to miss it.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive.